till August, right?
Yeah.
I'm working on this. You're gonna have fun.
Well, you can chew it because they're easy to chew, so you can chew it.
I don't know my old cheese. It's got a new cap.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Well, don't chew on that side. It might have left my phone at home. Of course, I don't need it in here anyway. But
I just use it for my. But that's right now, so I don't need it.
oh, good. Oh, I'm glad.
I can put it back in my bag. Got the. I have this cold. I better check. I meant to turn off the ringer, but I better check and make sure the ringer is actually on.
Here you are, sir. Thank you.
It is.
So you have
Live.
over 100 signed up for Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah, what they do, I mean, we offer like 4 curriculums. We've got,
I just thought it was really a socialization. Oh, okay. Should we reach out?
6 classes.
Talk today.
Because one of our deacon always lets me know if it's music, and it lets me know the tapes that
Yeah.
we might
And
like
then
to buy
we
something.
have a ton of dedicated aides and volunteers. And they get this
To me.
just way blown up. So,
Well, I mean, I'm sure everybody would be looking for something. So it's just Tuesday and Wednesday.
and so they'll come in at 10 o'clock. Like we got a car rider line like any school would have. And so they drop off their kids at 10 o'clock classes start. And they have several courses in the morning. At 11:40, they come out to the auditorium and I have a depot that about 10 minutes. I share what they got to work. Then we say prayer and they go to lunch. After lunch they have recess. And then they have like extracurricular stuff. This quarter is woodworking, photography, just different things they'll do. And I mean, it's legit. Like we'll have a graduation ceremony in the airport.
So is it kindergarten through?
Yeah, we start in preschool. Our preschool class is the biggest. In fact, next year might have 2.
So those 2 days satisfy.
Well, it satisfies most of it. I
don't get COVID.
But we're not.
Hi, everyone. I'm good. How are you all?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What'd you do?
I got new GSA.
Yay!
Which program
So we're the
I'm doing the first session for vocal music.
perform properly.
That's super.
Next week.
Doesn't that mean like a free ride to
So
college?
some colleges, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's,
We have
I
something
bet your
online.
mom
We have something
Mhm. They sure were.
That's great.
My daughter was
Like,
Really?
she's a fire director in Dare County.
Yeah.
and we got 2 big appointments.
So been a part of our world.
That's exciting.
Oh,
Shows and travel.
I was gonna say.
We also, varsity and chamber got distinguished at
Oh,
6
yeah.
They'll have, you know, I hope they have.
I love it.
So we got
So money was.
performed in the Middletown church. And some church.
What we do for these kids, it's crazy.
I think
We
so.
have real benefits. I mean, it's a big thing.
Yeah. So got some good things coming up.
That is awesome.
Our preschool class have had problems. I would say we're probably average.
So Sandy was gonna meet
Some are
with
bigger, some are
the.
smaller. Our smallest group is in high school. So the younger, the more crowded. We have people who come
There
from
he is.
Marshtown,
I need to talk to you
bring kids.
when you're finished. I sent you an email and text, and I never heard back. But I'll talk. Oh no, it was real. I'll talk to you
I
after.
know all about Wamba because I was just I don't do in Washington.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's how proud. So I thought,
All right.
you have to be, they want you to.
Yeah, that's been a little funny.
I'm good for you.
Check.
Well, Lynn,
You know what I'm saying?
your chair looks a little low.
The
chair looks
Maybe
a little
it
low.
is a little low. I feel like I'm,
Are they still up there working?
She has trouble with hers
Do we
too.
know how long they're going to be there?
We should stay or anybody else. It's been great. So far, so good. We were shocked how many
We
this
should have
year.
probably
Next year.
told them.
yeah, they are waving. They would never, none of me coming in that parking lot.
Man, there's everybody going to church.
Southwest campus.
Well, that'll make a good story,
We were
Lord.
shocked at how many
These
people
are
were interested
on,
in
I
there.
guess, aren't they?
Uh,
Are we ready?
Yeah, it's pretty
Everybody
interesting.
ready?
It is 6 on the nose,
Yes.
man.
Okay,
House.
good evening. The time is now 6 p.m. At this time, I'd like to call the April 22nd, 2024 regular monthly meeting to order. Statement of board mission. By working together, Spencer County School District will make a difference in the lives of all students. In our vision statement, Spencer County Schools will challenge and support all students to become highly effective individuals. I'd like to welcome all of our individuals, our citizens here today, and enjoy our presentations. We're always glad to see a full house, even if it only lasts for the first 30 minutes of the meeting. And, are there any changes that we need to make in the agenda? Okay, is there a motion to approve the April 22nd, 2024 regular monthly meeting agenda as presented?
I'll do it.
Aaron?
I'll
Do I-
second.
Lynn, second. All in favor? Unanimous? Okay, let's move on to recognitions. Dr. Foster.
We have a full slate of recognitions this evening. Miss Butler, our Chief Academic Officer, is going to help me. Before I go any further, we have a ton of guests tonight. I'm sure many of you are probably at a board meeting for the first time this year. If so, back behind kind of where Mr. Tishner is sitting below, there are some pamphlets. If you have any questions about the Board of Education or finances, we have documents back there for you. But without further ado, we do a number of celebrations each month. We do one called Row the Boat, and we have a lot of students to honor tonight. I'm really excited about it. Ms. Butler, what are we doing first?
It looks like we are recognizing our 8th region boys basketball champions.
Row the boat. Row the boat.
Oh, I didn't have any papers.
Oh, your
Oh,
fault.
I do them all. I'm chief speaker. I'm chief talker of all the things.
We will. Hold that thought.
Okay.
So for those of you in the audience who've not been to a board meeting since, I don't know, some point this school year, we started a unique celebration for Spencer County Schools called Row the Boat. It is based on a book written by John Gordon and TJ Fleck. He's a football coach at the University of Minnesota. A really cool book, and really the theme for us has been about individuals who keep going, who lead, who step out, who basically serve as somebody who brings energy to our schools, our school district, our community, who also might serve as a compass to give direction to what we're doing. So one of the things, many of you know that I have been here since July 1st. That's it, that's when I started at Spencer County. But I have learned quickly how lucky we are that not only our school district tells our story, but we have a lot of other individuals who care about students, who care about our schools, who care about our community, and help us to tell our story. One of the first gentlemen that I was introduced to was a gentleman by the name of Charlie Tishner. And Charlie, as you know, is a local attorney here, product of Spencer County High School, 1994. Is that correct? 1995. And Charlie and I go to the same barber. But one of his passions is basically promoting our school, our high school, our schools, whether it be athletics, performing arts, different things, and sharing that with our community. And so over the course of the year, I've been able to see firsthand, as many of you do, how special that is. And so Charlie has quite a large organization called GHC Sports. And really through our basketball team's run, it became very prominent, that video and that broadcast. But Charlie, with the help of two other gentlemen, Bo Bruner and John Hutchins, really worked hard in their personal time to highlight our students, our schools, our teams, and our kids and what they're doing. So if you three gentlemen would come on up, I would like to honor you with the Row the Boat Award. In addition to these three gentlemen, they employ, I don't know how many students. You have a number of top here, five or six students. You see them on the sidelines, you see them in the production truck. It is a labor of love, I think. But we certainly appreciate you guys highlighting our students. And it is not. So let's get centered here, Miss Barlow, take a picture. So we appreciate you. Thank you for what you do and highlighting Mr. County. They had me do football picks one night, and I think I was like 1 for 3. It was pitiful. It was not good. Paired with EHP, we also have another local entity that really tells the story of our school district. Mr. Jeff Soplin is here from Spencer County Magnet almost every single time we have a board meeting. He is very fair to us. He tells the story of our students. He highlights what's going on good. He shares the right information, and we really appreciate it. So also, Rowing the Boat Award this evening from the Spencer Magnet, Mr. Jeff Soplin. All right, Ms. Butler, you're up. So I'm finishing my 25th year, and I will tell you in regards to student recognitions, this is about the largest group that I've ever seen at a board meeting. I'm really proud of that, but it'll take a little bit of patience. So we've got some really incredible students to recognize tonight, and so Ms. Butler's going to help me kind of MC, make sure I do not forget anybody or mispronounce names.
Oh, good. Glad that falls on me.
No pressure.
No pressure. Okay, so hopefully everyone can hear me. The first group we're going to recognize is our biggest group, our 2024 8th Region Boys Basketball Champions. So I'll call everybody up. So come on up when you hear your name. So we'll start with our coaching staff, Coach Jason Burns, Coach Sean Sullivan, Coach Cutter Whitley, Coach Ross Goodwin, and Manager Dawson Barr. Then we go to our players, Jackson Combs, Keaton Baird, Jack Armstrong, Cam Cox, Carter Walters, Drew Barron, Brady Smith, Kellen Marksberry, Samuel Seawright, Adam Medley, Luke Earhart, Sam Cook, Ben Armstrong, and Chris Armstrong.
So as we get ready for a picture, a historic group of young men, and I'm a former coach and I cry, so this isn't a good mix for me. But this group really lifted a community on its shoulders, and I think that's special. You don't see that very often. And but I can't tell you the amount of people that texted me, reached out to me while I was in Lexington, after Lexington, and bragged on this group, how they competed and how they represented our community and our state on that floor. So, gentlemen, we're very proud of you. Thank you so much. Yeah. I'm going to put Coach Burns on the spot. Coach, anything you would add about this group for the season? Don't be shy. Help me out.
No, I mean, you said everything. I'm really spoiled because we have really, really good kids, and you know, there's been some years I didn't really say that, but it's true. They did test. They tested me a lot, but no, they're outstanding, and you know, we have 6 seniors, and we got a whole group of here, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. That's also one of the first years we had, you know, all 4 age groups. They put a lot of work in. There's a lot of time. There's a lot of kids that are there at 6:30 in the morning, so there's a lot of time to put extra time in. They deserve it. So.
You guys, you made us proud. Thank you very much. Take a picture. Continue to get tight in the photo. Do the fit. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
Next, we have a group of 10 students that were accepted to Governor Scholars. We'll list everybody, or do you want to do one at a time?
Let's do one at a time.
Okay. So first up, we have Jasmine Dawson.
Ms. Barlow, you want to do individual and group?
Ashley Jones. Ava Klaus. Marina Revers. Caitlin Sloniker. She's also not here. She's not here. Mary Taylor. Natalie Wimsat. Jack Hart. Jesus Hedegi. And Jack Massey.
As they're getting set for pictures, Governor Scholars Program, all of these students will go to a college campus 5 weeks this summer. So they will study at a place like Murray State, Bellarmine University, different places. They will be grouped with students from around the state. So in addition to a very academic, prestigious honor, it's a very nice social thing as well. So they'll build a nice network of peers. So let's shift this way by 2 baby steps. Maybe 3 or 4. There you go. All right, our GSP
going to Gatton. Okay. Next, we had 3 students that got into Gatton Academy that we're going to recognize. First, Annabelle Thompson. Doesn't look like she's here. Isaiah Bird. And Jacob Cano Mauricio. No Gatton. Our 2024 Governor's School for the Arts, there were 3 people. First is our own Emma Schneider. Mason Ward. And Jarrell McTeer. Next, we have 2024 Commonwealth Honors Academy is Miss Kate Bannon. And 2024 Governor School of Entrepreneurs, Jaden Tipton.
Jaden, I believe you are Spencer County's first Governor School of Entrepreneurs. Congratulations. We'll double check. Come on up. Lots to be proud of and lots of individuals to celebrate. We appreciate each of you for that. If you are here as a guest, you're more than welcome to stay. But if you don't want to stay, this is the perfect time for you to slide out of the back. Is it everybody? Do you remember School for Entrepreneurs?
No, I don't think. I think you're correct.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
I'm curious to see what they
That's right.
would be interesting.
Nah.
Where is that? Where is that going to be?
I think, and I don't know.
He said it's a different school. So I guess they let them
Yeah.
tell them where they're going.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I see.
Bye, Dad. Bye-bye.
ESA student.
Did not everybody's gone. We have such an amazing group of kids, and it's not just one facet.
Yep.
We're very well rounded. Okay. Ready for citizens and delegations? Ms. Barlow, we don't have any. Okay, turned in. Let's move on to academic success and student achievement.
I am very proud to call Mr. Matt Mercer to the podium, who said he loves to do this kind of stuff. We have an incredible adventure plan at Spencer County Middle School this fall. We are working on building from scratch, literally from nothing, what's called a career exploratory lab. So Mr. Mercer has done a great job rallying his students, his staff, and developing a plan for next year. And tonight, he's going to share with you guys what that's going to look like, what we're doing, and just give you guys a little bit of an understanding of the work that's been going on. So, Mr. Mercer, sir, the floor is yours. Yeah.
This is a pretty spectacular group that I have here
Thank
with
you.
me. Let me first introduce who we have. This is our student leadership team. These guys, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, 24 were selected throughout the school year. They went through an interview process, and we've tasked them with some pretty heavy stuff this year. We've really used them as a voice, give us feedback. But I definitely don't think they knew what they were getting into when they signed up for this. Their sponsor is Miss Tish Kennedy. Tish has been with me from day one at the middle school and has really helped us build what we have to this point. It's exciting to get into some new things. Miss Michaela Gabriel, STLP, STEM, Super Science Teacher of the Year. She's going to be our PAX Lab Director, and that's actually what we're talking about here today. Miss Cindy Clyde is here with us. This all started with a conversation with Dr. Foster and I in July, really early on. He sat down. It was kind of informal, and it started with a question. What do you need to get better? What can you get better at? And the thing that was different is in education, you get that question a lot. When you're in administration, you get that question a lot. We did a needs assessment for the last 18 years. And we put down on paper what we need, and we ask for it, and we get it. But the different thing about this question and Dr. Foster was when he asked me and I answered, he cared what the answer was. When I said our high schools across the state are doing a phenomenal job in college career readiness with our 9 through 12 students, and we are doing nothing. I've been at the middle level long enough to know what we contribute to college career. We're very strong academically. We have a lot to be proud of. We built a lot of very strong programs, 7-time Governor's Cup champions in academic team. I can list accolades, but when it comes to college career world, we just contributed very little. And I've seen what Mr. Phillips and the high school does with our kids going in as 9th graders. It appears to me over the years that it's become like when we were going to college and you pick a major and a minor. And our whole goal here was, and when I talked to these guys early on, was how can we introduce kids to career pathways in a way that they can decide what they like, but also what they don't like. If in the middle school years, they can eliminate some things that they know they don't like, it'll help laser focus them in on a few other areas that the high school does have to offer. Also, we would like to provide some data and feedback to our high school people so that they can help kids make decisions as 9th graders as to what pathways they want to go in rather than all that they have been acclimated to by their parents and very limited opportunities at our school level. So that's where it kind of started, was a conversation. And Dr. Foster and I kind of took it from there, like, okay, college career, what could that look like in the middle school? We have limited resources, especially staffing. And we talked about a pipeline, just like we're talking about flag football all the way up to our seniors that are signing scholarships. We're talking about our all-county chorus kids that are in elementary school, middle and high at the middle school each year, celebrating on a Saturday and showing off. We wanted to look at, dig deeper into the college career world beyond 9 through 12. So that's when Paxton Patterson Labs really came up. Some contacts and some information that Dr. Foster kind of gave me to go on. And the more conversations I started having, the more research we started doing, the more people I started getting involved, the more excited this project became. So the whole idea turned into offering 32 college career modules for our middle school students so that all students would have an opportunity of taking that minimum 24 basically career project-based learning opportunities and gather data at the end of those. So it's going to transform how our electives are given. I was at the chamber this past week. Dr. Foster showed a slide with the classrooms 100 years ago and 100 and now, and they're very similar in some schools and districts. This would flip that on its head. Instead of taking basic art, basic music, basic dance, basic we start offering more unique opportunities at the middle school level to make our electives more exciting. And I think that targets what he's going as the invisible child, the ones that show up, do what they're supposed to do, and then leave. They kind of go under the radar. I think this is a program that can get those kids excited. So what we want to do and our why is be a bridge for college career readiness in Spencer County from the elementaries to the high school. So after we started talking about Paxton Patterson modules and what they could be, we started looking at space within the building. I quickly turned to the kids and said, we need you guys to be involved to make this super cool and awesome and something that our kids will actually want to do by design and technology is going to happen. So these guys did an awesome job, and I think they have all nominated the mayor, Superstar, to go over the student process, which pretty much went from the beginning of this year to now.
So I'm Cooper Stark, like you said, I'm an 8th grader. First off, I would like to thank all of them for letting us have this opportunity to put this project together. So we started off at the beginning of the year. We took, we had to do forms to get into this leadership team. And when we did that, we got the flow and started meeting every Thursday during 8th grade lunch. Once we did that, a few weeks in, we got the idea. They wanted us to put together the PAX Lab. So the PAX Lab contains a lot. So we started off with designing how we wanted to start, because we had to start from scratch from 4 classrooms, and we designed them from different color rooms. So we'd put the most creative people that we had in the leadership team, from all the way from 6th grade to 8th grade. So we got everyone involved in the school. So we would have the creative people go to the room that needs the most work. So we would have them design, because that room, it was the orange room, I want to say, and they had us just start from scratch what we wanted to put on the walls, and which we had to do that with all the rooms. So then we went and measured all the rooms with every single one of them, 4 rooms. Next slide, I think. So that's the blue. No, I don't. It doesn't matter. No, you can do it. That's the blueprint, kind of like what we want to have. So here's some imageries right here. Excuse me. And just some tables that you'll have in design. And then the next, that's kind of 3D picture we want to do. So when we were creating this, they kind of put it in our hands, and we said we want to make this an enjoyable class to go to. We don't want kids to dread to go to this class, because they have to do it for 2 of their 9 weeks, and they could rather be doing gym or the other special areas. So when we were doing this, we wanted some motivational quotes on the walls. We wanted some comfortable seating is a big thing that kids like to have, and which we came with that, and Mr. Mercer and all of them also had a big part in this too. It's not just us. So right here is the first room, the blue room. So we are wanting to have 2 walls. We picked 2 walls out of the classroom to pick to paint. So as you can see, they have the width and the height of all of the walls. So we measured that. Us kids did that. That was the first step we did, because we have to be able to figure out. So there's many doors in here. So we had to cut out the doors to know how much paint we would need to have, or how much room we would have to put the quotes. So once we figured out that, we were wanting to put designs, and we wanted to make the room match, obviously, so we can make it comfortable. So we came up with many ideas. So this is the next one. We're on the next one. So as we were saying, we came up with words right there. And when we came up with the words, we came up with many words. And we figured that we had many quotes that we had, but we couldn't fit them all in the PAX Lab. So we found some that would go good into the front of the school, in the middle of the school. So once we did that, we're going to start putting. We have a big wall that like goes from the beginning of the school to like about the lunchroom, and that's been painted the same. I don't know how long it's been, but they said it was a while. So I think in the next couple of years, the leadership team is going to design a wall to paint there, and the Good Creative Group came up with a great wall picture of it's like a word of leadership or Grizzlies or something like that. I can't remember which one it was, and it's a bear, and we're gonna put that in the front of the school there. So I think that's a great idea. And then the next room, here's the blue room. It's another one of the bigger rooms. That's one of the motivational quotes we want to put on there because it just has many different words. Because we want motivation, which, like, for me personally, and we talk like this, motivation is big for kids because a lot of teachers or whatever, they try to give motivation, but the kids just can't find it. But like being able to physically put their hands and like be able to physically see, being able to like do the amputating the arm is one of the things we like was a big thing. And I was like, being able to do that would be awesome at the middle school age. And I feel like that could motivate you if you're good at that. Because like when I'm like good at something, it motivates me to do it more, and because I enjoy doing it.
One of the cool things I think is that all of our quotes that will be in each of the rooms are all student generated. They come up with words and phrases that they like that agree. I think it's really neat is to see them kind of figure out. He touched on it, but it's really cool to see that you give them a task, you set the expectations, kind of turn them loose, because they start figuring out who needs to be in certain areas to make this happen. That's pretty cool.
That work slide that all the kids on it, we divided them up and they we step back and let them everything that they generated, everything they presented, call them. They named the lab. The funny thing is the adults got together with AI generators and looked at problems and they did all the
That I thought were awesome. They were great, yeah, great names.
They were, but the kids came up with the best
They
possible.
mixed them all.
They did. And
They mixed every one.
they did. But they came up with the Grizzly one again, and we realized that's a great name for the space. It's not like the kids named it, so they own it. It's their space. So this place, this is what our here. All hands on deck, sixth graders working with seventh and eighth graders, seventh and eighth graders working together. And they want to get hard. We want to make sure tonight that it's fun.
So this is kind of how it started. Them at a table with paper and pencils, and they go to the computer making their design. And then this is kind of what came out. You can this, I mean, copies you guys said kind of but they figured out how to blend the furniture so that the three colors they decided to use, the orange, blue, and the green, were all complemented in each room. Then they determined which rooms got which paint. So there are two main rooms on the upper floor of this kind of middle school. Two main rooms are the blue and the orange rooms. That's where you really get the wow factor we walk through. So those walls will have the first wall in the blue room, you have this, you have underneath it would be countertop, that's another wall in the same room, another wall in the same room. This is the green room, so the layout, you can see how the monitors are laid out. You have, for example, computer science, engineering design, culinary arts. These are all modules that Ms. Black is around the high school, all the students were here, people there, asking what do you do to promote, what do you not have access to, see if there's and then let's track well, design marketing, there's CAD design, there's all kinds of really cool marketing that we can talk about. But these guys, they come up with a lot of countertop racks, LED lights. These are all designs that they found online. This is why different pieces here and there to make this more these are actual features from actual comparisons of your past philosophy related to making these all online. Love that quote.
They really worked really hard on this kind of integration of the students say in this PAX Labs, and Mercer did a great job kind of introducing it. But taking kind of a deeper look into what PAX labs are, we're going to have 32 different modules. They cover a range of 20 career clusters is what PAX labs calls them. Those career clusters include agriculture, the arts, architecture and construction, business management and administration, education and training, employability, finance, government and public administration, health sciences, informational technology, the law, manufacturing and marketing, personal care, service, production, STEM, and transportation. And like we've covered a couple times, these are directly aligned with the pathways that are offered at the high school. So they're going to get their integration or very, very early immersion at our middle school level. If you guys want to look at the screens, they're on both sides. You can see some of what those modules are actually going to look like or what their names are. Introduction to Engineering and Design is an engineering pathway. They actually get to build hands-on models of various structural kind of things. That also has a more 8th grade specialized one. It's the structural engineering, which they actually build a balsa bridge. It's roughly about this size. And then they get to test it on a
If you just a minute, Mr. Stark.
Cooper.
Actual Cooper Stark. Yeah, not you, Mark. The rest of your team left, and would you tell them that they missed the applause they would have gotten? I'm sure everyone here is really impressed with what you've done and are excited, and are excited when you get it up and going to come and see you in action. And thank you very
You did a
much.
fantastic job.
Fantastic. Thank you, Cooper.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. I will say a little plug for the 8th grade leadership team. They are very bitter that they are not going to have the opportunity to go through these modules. So we've worked with them. We're kind of developing like a preview for them, using them as kind of our test subjects this summer to get them back into the building and actually experience what they've worked so hard this year on. So they're super pumped about that. They were a little upset at first. But going back to what I was talking about with the structural engineering, that one we have this huge machine. It's probably about this high. I can't push it. I tried to move it when we were going through some of the inventory. And it's this really high-tech stress machine that they actually are going to put their balsa bridges on and test the integrity of it. That's just one of the examples. Let's see. You guys have another one you want to pull off of the list real quick? I'm not fully immersed in all of the modules, but anyone jumping out at you
Tell
guys?
us about the welding.
The welding one, that's one, probably honestly the one I'm the most excited about. It's basic welding. They'll learn to do 4 different types of welds, but the very unique part of this is that it uses augmented reality. So they actually get this welding shield, and they get like the, I don't know what you call it, but the piece that you actually weld with. And when they put that shield down, it puts them in a 3-dimensional world that they learn to weld in. So it's really, really cross-cutting concepts, but with this high-tech technology. And they're actually learning it in a safe, kind of controlled environment, which then they can go on and learn. I believe there's welding at the high school. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then there's also the, I almost said Ashland, not Ashland, the Jefferson Technical College opportunities as well that open up to them about their junior, senior year as well. So this is something that they get to experience, they get passionate about now. And then they go on and develop that passion. I'm trying to think if there's anyone. One that I'm super passionate about as well is the vet medicine. Those of you all who don't know my background, I was a zookeeper before I became a teacher. And part of that, I got to be involved in the vet world. So this vet medicine one, they actually have the Casper CPR dog, and they learn how to do like CPR and emergency medicine on dogs. So that's really, really neat. Trying to think. Computer graphics and gaming development. That's going to get a lot of your kids. Kids love gaming. They're going to want to develop their own games. And also, some of the leadership team had mentioned, well, if we do develop a game, can we get kids in the community in to come play them and test pilot them? So that opens up kind of more of that community buy-in. moving on from our individual labs, we're going to talk about some of the data that we're wanting to kind of collect. We are wanting to see the impact of what these labs have overall, not just did your kid like it? Yes or no. We want to see if these careers are going to be things that they are interested in pursuing long term. Is it something that they'll pursue outside the classroom? So there are about 4 questions currently that we have worked with the PaxPat company to develop at the end of each module. This is going to collect data on their interest, their skill level, did they meet mastery over the skills that are being tested, the purpose, and the opportunity, and that's going to be that kind of extension outside of the classroom. And next steps, perfect. So kind of cut this short. I went a little bit longer than I had first anticipated, but we are looking to develop this opportunity outside of the classroom, not just having it be you come in third period, you're in PaxPat. We want to make this a very long-lasting environment impact opportunity for students and our community. So we're looking on developing these partnerships with companies and businesses. A partnership with the PaxPat Labs is going to look something like someone from a specific career coming in and talking to our students about how the skills they're learning in the module applies to that specific career field. It also could include people coming in and helping work on the modules themselves. One of them is a home maintenance module, having a plumber come in and help the students fix the sink, showing that kind of networking skills and learning it from someone who is in that career. That kind of experience is invaluable, and it's something that's going to, I think, really take this Pax Labs up a notch. We actually took advantage of the annual career fair at the middle school this year and kind of presented this idea to the people who have already invested in our schools. And we've had several who have already expressed great interest in forming these partnerships. One of these examples is I actually got to talk to our local humane society that just got up and running. The executive director was super excited to get the kids in. She's been looking for opportunities to kind of incorporate the youth in this new endeavor for our community. We've been talking for several weeks now about what the partnership's going to look like with the Humane Society, because the partnerships are going to be personalized to what the companies and businesses, kind of their strengths and what they're wanting to put into it. So partnership with the Humane Society, what we've been talking about is providing opportunities for them to go on field trips, go to the Humane Society, and get to witness the specializations in animal care. This is going to provide an opportunity for them to network. I know there's been talk about providing teen volunteer programs with Humane Society, so this is a good way for them to start that networking. And it's also going to give them that real world aspect because the Humane Society is an educational facility. So they are insured to allow students to witness surgery. So again, this next step to give them that experience that again is going to be very invaluable. Our whole mission with this partnership is to forge dynamic partnerships that are going to revolutionize these labs through strategic collaboration. We're going to aim to provide our students with unparalleled hands-on experience, integration of the cutting edge technology like the welding, and just valuable real-world industry insights. And I think that's kind of our goal with those partnerships.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Mr.
Anything else, Mercer, that I
Mr.
missed?
Mercer.
All right.
Would you address, because when I talked to you earlier, I think you explained that this is not just, this is a living and breathing type of thing. And as you collect data, that these modules, their modules can be added or removed.
That was what we really, from the start, wanted to make sure that we included people, bring the high school focus. We wanted to make sure that as kids
Yes.
Don't miss this. There's no other. I think the first.
First one. When you get comfortable with it next year and you think you're there, let us know, because I have a feeling that more than just me wants to come and watch this. Yes. Please do. Please do. Thank you. Anybody have any questions, comments about it? I talked too much. I'm really excited about this. But thank you all very much. That was great.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate your leadership. All right. Miss Butler, Miss Junk, and Mr. Scott are going to join us at the podium to talk about a K-5 ELA curriculum proposal.
Boy, they had to follow.
It's going to be equally as fun as the back-to-back.
Really wish.
Come on.
Good evening, everybody. So we are here to kind of walk with you through our process for determining our elementary ELA curriculum, something that took many months. We wanted to make sure that we did it correctly. And so we're going to here to kind of walk you through that process and tell you kind of what we inevitably chose and kind of what we're asking from you all for today. So first, that is not right. Sorry. Hold on. Go back to the beginning. Here we go. So first, we had to choose the right team. We wanted to make sure that we had a good representation from both schools, classroom teachers, ECE, so our special ed teachers, our interventionists. We asked preschool to come because we were trying to see if there's some way we could get a curriculum that also included preschool, but also so that they could kind of see the conversations that we're having. We had several district representatives all to kind of come together to come up with a consensus so that we could have a common curriculum for our district. So we wanted to come up with a district-wide vision. It's kind of hard to do something if we're all in different places. So we came together. I asked OVEC to kind of come in. I wanted to be a part of this team, not just a facilitator. So I asked someone from the outside, OVEC, who's done with this with other districts, to kind of go through the KDE. KDE kind of set up a framework for kind of how to do this, and they had done it already with the district. So I was like, you guys kind of know what you're doing. I'd love to be a facilitator. So they came in and kind of walked us through this vision creation process. So it was a really cool experience. It was a really interesting way to see all those people come up with one vision. And you'll see that on your statement. I think that's a very wonderful, quick way to articulate all our conversations that we had. So that's how we started, all on the same page, a lot of different people, a lot of different backgrounds from 2 different schools, 4 different buildings, coming up with one statement that we wanted to really highlight through this curriculum process. From there, we took our vision statement and broke it down into 7 categories. And we created a rubric. Because we said this is our vision statement, it was very important that any curriculum we chose highlighted those things. We didn't want just a couple things here or there. We wanted to make sure if we said this is important to our district, everyone who's on this team who represents all elementary and ELC people, that we want to make sure we found that in our curriculum. So we created a rubric based off that vision, and you'll see those 7 things listed there. From there, we looked at kind of what the law was telling us we had to have. we had to adopt a common comprehensive reading program. There was lots of people who said, well, could each school kind of do what they wanted based off of what they felt we were needed? I would love, with us a small district, I wanted us to be common because we're all ended up at the middle school and we're all going to the same high school. So in my mind, just for that equity piece, for all of us to kind of all have the same resources was important to me. But then the bill also said, shall adopt a common comprehensive reading program. So they're kind of telling us too, it needs to be, we need to all be working with the same resources. So the Department of Education also said you can only choose from these resources. They kind of vetted a ton of different resources, had to be reliable, had to be valid, and had to be aligned to our reading and writing standards. So we chose those 6 listed before you. So Amplify, EL Education, and Wit and Wisdom were the top 3 that KDE said these are the ones we feel like are the best because they claim to be knowledge building. And what knowledge building means is they take the important things of reading and they also connect that with science and social studies. So you're not just learning about reading or how to read, but you're also learning things about science and social studies and getting in some of those standards as well. So it's kind of a 2-fer or 3-fer really. We also found Savas My View, Into Reading, and Wonders also was kind of like the 6 we kind of narrowed down. I kind of had done some of that work ahead of time because that in itself is all the stuff out there and people want to send you all the things and it's a lot. So I went ahead and kind of narrowed to those 6 beforehand and I presented it to this team once we got our vision. I didn't want them looking at stuff first. We needed to come up with what's our vision first before we knew it was out there. That was really important to me that we did that first. And so we want something to fix us. We don't want to match something else. So we looked at these 6. We used, I don't know, probably 4 to 6 weeks. Thank you, Ms. Jump. To really give resources to teachers. Everybody had the rubric. We housed all the stuff here. People could come and get whatever they wanted. It was over the Christmas holiday. It was not something they had to do at that time, but we wanted to make sure they had plenty of time to really deep dive into their grade level, what they felt most comfortable with those standards, and really deep dive into our rubric and each of these resources to really grade them. There was a strengths, there was a weaknesses, and there was what we're not seeing. There's kind of like this column of, if we need to, do we pull from somewhere else? Some questions that if we could get in front of a vendor, some extra questions that we could ask. So we had this huge spreadsheet. We got back together, I think it was the end of January or so, and we kind of looked and it was very clear that there was a top 3 and a bottom 3. So we went ahead, we didn't need discussion. We just got rid of the bottom 3. There's no need to go there. So our top 3 choices were Amplify CKLA, My View, and Wit and Wisdom. From there, we decided instead of continuing on and having continued conversations, we went ahead and asked all 3 of those vendors to kind of do a presentation for us. So we knew what we knew based off of our deep dive into each of those vendors. So then we had asked them to give a presentation. They knew who was in the audience. They knew what we were looking for. They all had our vision statement, kind of what was important to Spencer County. And then they gave their presentations. At the end of the presentations, the first one was kind of, before we even had presentations, we really had it down to 2. Each school kind of had their favorite. Unfortunately, it was not the same one. So there was one kind of, we listened through the presentation, but we kind of just already kind of made our minds up that that wasn't the one we were going to go with. And so we had 2 other presentations that day. Unfortunately, the presentations did not lead us to one answer. We still were at 2. And if you look closely at the bill, it's the superintendent makes the decision. I was really trying to keep Willie from having to make the decision. But we just, you have 2 schools and 2 schools that have different needs, and they felt like one of the vendors covered their need more than another one. So again, we were asked, is there any way each school could have their own? And again, we have to come back to, it has to be common, what's going to be best for kids in the long run, not what's best for the adults. So we had to come back to the drawing board. So Dr. Foster and myself and Miss Howie dug in ourselves. We talked to each leadership team. They each presented compelling evidence to their curriculum. And at the end of the day, after looking kind of at all the things and thinking from a district perspective and thinking about all the children and all the schools coming together, we chose to go with Savvis MyView. We are going to do a 6-year, what's the word? No, it's not 6 years. We're going with them for 6 years. We're going to try to get a kindergarten class all the way through elementary school with the same curriculum so that we can really have good data to see, is this the right thing? You can't have it for a year. We talked about piloting for a year, but that's really not the best data either. Anything you do, you need a good 3 years to really get good data to say, is it working or not? And then how fair would that be to get a kid through 3rd grade and be like, oh, we're going to change everything we're doing. So we're going to go get kids through 6 years. We feel like that's fair, give teachers really enough time to dig deep, learn the resource, and do all the work. One of Dr. Foster's big rocks this year is PLC. Well, in that whole process, it's kind of perfect timing. We're starting really to dig into PLCs at the same time because a lot of the work, now that we have the resource, a lot of that work is just now starting. So you start talking about essential standards and pairing that with the resource and coming up with the framework and what the day-to-day life is going to be like for teachers. That work starts now. And we had to come up with this resource before we could really start that work. So we are going to start now, really start looking at training, making sure teachers have resources in their hands before they leave for the summer. They have some of that training done before the summer. So that way, if teachers want to use their time, I say if as if it's a choice, all teachers do it, even if they don't want to, the good ones anyway. So at least they will have everything when they leave. They're going to have all the training from the vendors with each school, all before they leave for summer break. So when we come back at the end of July, early August, we can hit the ground running, and it's not, hey, you're a week from school, here's a brand new resource, let's start from the beginning. So we're hoping to give them a good foundation before we leave for summer. The next part here is just kind of what we're asking for you and just kind of some reasonings behind it. So the first thing, which I think sounds super cool, but I also remember being in the classroom and knowing like time is precious and you don't have time for all the things. The first one is called the LSDA. It's a literacy screener and diagnostic assessment. This is $5 a kid, which doesn't sound that much until you're talking about lots of kids. So for 1 year, it's $7,400. What this does is it's something that teachers give within the first 2 weeks of meeting their students. And it gives a snapshot to that teacher of all skills they should come into the grade level knowing. Once the teacher gives that, it also tells the teacher, hey, Jared was really low in theme, but he was great in, informational text. When you get to this unit in your second month, he's going to need some support. But when you get to this unit in this month, he's going to be your star. So it's going to give very specific information to teachers about their year coming up based off of what the knowledge they have coming in. To me, it sounds amazing. I can't wait to see it. But we decided it could be one of those things that's like beginning of the year, you have map testing, you're getting to know kids, there's all the testing and all the things. Is it going to be one more thing? And we don't want that either. So we're going to pilot it this year to see how much teachers are using it. Is the information as good as they say it is? And if it is, we'll have more conversations. But for this year, we're asking for $7,400 for that for 1 year of the LSDA. Next is the MyView literacy. So this is for grades K-5. It says 5 years. It should be 6 years. I'm sorry about that. So it's the Student Interactive Consumable Plus. So that is essentially like a giant book of activities for students. So teachers aren't having to create things or print things. Teachers can take from there. It's also available digitally. So teachers just have the resource to kind of use. That's kind of their autonomy piece, right? How they want the students to interact with that material. There's an online license. So that's online for teachers and students. Students have online stuff to interact with that's outside of that workbook. Teachers have slide decks on there. Any kind of resource that they will need, either for projection or for printing, is going to be there as well. You have the teacher edition package. That's all things the teachers will need to implement this resource with fidelity. Interventions, the tier 2 interventions is included. So every teacher will have tier 2 interventions based on the skills that they're learning and the content they're learning at that time. So you don't have someone separate trying to figure out, okay, what are you teaching? Let me get other resources. It actually has a resource in it for those tier 2 kiddos. Foundational skills package for kindergarten, first and second grade. That is outside of the normal teacher package. This is just strictly on those foundational pieces. Then there's the big book package for K only. So it takes some of those stories, some of those nursery rhymes and things, and gives you a giant book so that kids can see it and are interactive with it that teachers can use. So our initial request for 6 years is $276,020. We also are including professional development. As we know, that's super important to make sure teachers have what they need in order to really use this resource to the best that we can. One of the feedback we got from teachers is in person is much more useful. So the initial one's called literacy program activation. That is going to be in person. So they send people here. We've talked amongst us what we feel like would be better. We've talked to Savis to figure out how best to do this. What we're actually going to do is we're going to have all our primary, our K2 is going to go to one building. No matter what building you teach in, all of you are going to get trained together on how to use this resource, because primary, as we know, is a little bit different from intermediate. So then all the intermediates are going to go to another building and they're going to get trained on Savis MyView from those people, all in a live in-person training. That's going to be the first half of the day. And the second half of the day, we're going to give teachers time to really interact with the materials now that they've had the first training under their belt. They've done a lot of essential standards work, so they're going to really start that framework building and figuring out how they're going to start using this resource in their classrooms. Then they do a mid-year implementation essentials. This is kind of a check-in. It's a couple months in, usually October, November. How's it going? What other supports are needed? And we decided virtual for this one would be good. We can always add trainings later if we need to. Other professional developments outside of Savis that we're making sure we implement. Both schools are doing things outside of that. I know Ms. Jump at TES is having OVEC come in. They're doing a whole page to practice. So just because you can write it in your lesson plan, what does it actually mean for your classroom? Because it's a different thing, bringing everything to life. So each school is kind of doing their own thing with how we use this resource in our classroom to make it interesting, exciting, and engaging for our students. Let's see. Next. So the total investment, so you have our LSDA for 1 year, is that screener at $74.15, the MyView literacy, which is all things we need for this resource. The professional development, so our total is $319, $337. Something that was really important is we want the schools to kind of have some skin in the game too. And so we're asking them to also put in some of their funds. So each school will put in about $22,000, and then we're asking for the board to cover the rest of that. And again, this gets us 6 years of high quality resource for our K-5 students, which I think it's a lot of money, but if you're thinking about 6 years, it's a pretty good deal, especially when looking at lots of quotes from lots of different places. This is about the best we could get. So we're pretty proud of it. It's a lot of work going into it. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but we're excited to get started. Just to remind you guys, this will get us through the 2030, that's so weird to say, 2030 to 2031 school year. Everything that we need is included here except for the LSDA. That's something we'll, look at and talk about and see if we need to come back to you all or to see if that's something the schools can take on. But this is our ask as of right now. Any questions for any of us? I know I took the mic. These are my support systems, but you guys have any questions? Thanks. I was just like, you don't have to unless you really want to, but.
So it's not, if your particular school has a little bit different need, it's not difficult you can still add your own thing to support support it.
Correct.
As long as you're doing this right.
I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, how do we kind of say this to teachers? And this is the best way I could say it. So, like, let's say, you see those shows like Chopped, right? So you get a box full of stuff, but you also have your kitchen at home. You can use all your spices and the recipes and the knowledge. So it's whatever's in the box. We're all going to use that. But then you as a teacher, depending on the kids in your classroom that year to the next year, it could be different. So you're going to take the resources that you have and you're using them to best help whatever kid is in your seat at that time. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thought about that one for a little bit.
Are there any questions, comments?
I have a couple.
Okay.
One is, how is the LSDA, how are you going to think about interacting that with MAP? I'm just thinking from a standpoint of like how much testing is going on.
Correct. And that was my thing too. That's why we're doing it for this first year. So MAP, we really do about 4 weeks in. This will be done within the first couple weeks. To me, they're not related other than that they're both an assessment. So this is going to give very specific information about the resource and how teachers can use the resource for individual students in their classroom. Where MAP is going to tell us more about, when you're talking about the reading side of MAP, it's a comprehension test, right? So you're going to use those pieces of data extremely differently. Your LSDA is not going to be norm reference. This is about the student specific kid and specific standards and specific things you're doing in class based on this resource. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's how we're going to kind of, and they'll hopefully be a little bit apart. Luckily with MAP, we got some wiggle room in when we give that. Our biggest gap between when we give fall and winter MAP is pretty large. So we can kind of play with that a little bit so students aren't over assessed.
And then my second question is around professional learning.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel like you have enough?
I think time will tell. I think so what I'm going to do here pretty soon is once we get the PO, they can't talk to me about professional learning until they know we're actually doing it. So once we get the PO to them that's saying we're actually signing with you and we're going to do this, I'm going to ask for their presentation so we can kind of tailor theirs. A lot of vendors' presentations are less about classroom. It's more about here's the resource, how to use the resource. So we want to tailor it to us. So I think after our our very first PD, the day after closing day is my view. So it's the very first PD that our teachers are going to be getting. So we're going to be able to take that and be able to figure out, okay, what else are we going to be needing? And we're going to use that to kind of build our summer plans and into the early school year. We've already talked to both schools about stipending people for coming in, but just being able to support teachers as much as possible. And then Savas, we have them coming in around October, November, and then we'll be able to kind of add them if we need to, if there's more resource specific professional development.
Yeah. So with the way that we kind of structure our PD for the year, we talk about like we're going to get trained on what are all the pieces, how do they feel like we're doing, then we're going to tailor for our school. And once they kind of get into and use it, that's when we'll ask a lot of questions. They're kind of like, well, how does this piece go here and how does this piece go here? So that will be the follow up on these PD days. Will be tailored to us, but we don't really know what we need.
Right.
On the back side of that, Dr. Foster, the whole team has been doing a great job with our schools, elementary school classes, especially the framework after this all year. In that we've been doing a lot of work, like Dr. Foster talked a lot about us. Now, this is a curriculum. You have to have a curriculum and you have to have a framework. You have to have both working super well to have maximum success. And so we've been working a lot on the framework side, pretty much since October, to kind of set the stage on what are our priority standards, where are we going to work with common formative assessment. So that's being worked on now. And so I think that will launch us forward in the next school year.
Yeah. We've had PD really all this year on the development of the PLC process. And so we're going to be able to do PDs with our teachers and really working with the resource throughout PLCs and throughout other trainings that we have.
I was mainly asking, just looking at the virtual mid-year
Mm-hmm.
and wondering how effective virtual is, that if we needed to go to the in-person route.
Yeah.
That would
And that's something we'll have to
And
We'll
I
have
will
to
say
figure out
this,
too.
if we get to that point and we feel like folks are drowning in the in-person, we'll figure out a way to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
We won't just be looking at the screen and good luck.
Yeah.
We will not do that to you.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much.
Okay. Superintendent's report.
I think the shortest of the year so far.
Yes.
Tonight, probably a good thing. So a few dates and reminders. Later on this evening, you guys will be voting on shifting our calendars, which I don't think we have much of a choice. But we do have a work session in May, and I think, unless I'm mistaken, we do not do work sessions in June and July. So that'll be our last work session until August. So our new last day, or proposed last day for students will now be Monday, May 20th, which will shift closing day for our staff back to May 21st. And then our regular meeting in May is also effective, not by the end of school, but by the Memorial Day holidays. And that is a Tuesday, so take note of that. We had our final principals meeting of the year last week. We will not meet in May. It's a short month with a lot going on. So the agenda is linked there for you guys. And our program directors met on the same day. They don't get as much. We will meet with them in May, so we'll have to work around the school stuff. Out of district travel for me, I traveled to Odette on March 27th. We'll do so again this week. So that cycle goes really, really fast. And then you can see there my final 3 elements of superintendent onboarding. I'm not sad that that's almost over. My capstone presentation will be held on June 3rd. That is a special call board meeting here in the board room. I go back to Frankfurt on June 11th to the 12th, and then we graduate on July 24th. Knock on wood. So I'm pretty excited about that part. And then finally, I've been giving you guys bits and pieces from the 7 superintendent standards. And last month we hit number 7. And so this month I promised to share with you guys an update of my professional growth plan. So if you look there on the first page, it is the professional growth plan that deals with the strategic plan. That was a pretty lofty goal. It is one that will probably stretch out into next year to some degree. But you can see what we've been doing with Dr. Rachel Yarbrough. We've done some really, really good work. It's heavy. It was tedious. A lot of that will go on here in the summer. My second goal dealt with the 3 big rocks, which was a reset of academic fundamentals, PLC fidelity, and finally, deeper learning next steps. So you can see there, each column lays out the actions that were to be done, evidence and artifacts of that, and the date that it was supposed to be completed. So a lot of good work, a lot of support, and a lot of great people to do the work with. So that's it for me.
Any questions or comments? Okay, let's move on to action with discussion. Our board minutes, we've all had a chance to look at the board minutes. There's a motion to approve the March 25th, 2024 minutes as presented. Pam, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Lynn, any comments or questions before we vote? All in favor? Unanimous? Let's move on to addition to certified LBD teacher at the Spencer County Middle School.
But I asked Mr. Russell to join us at the podium. The next 4 items will include Mr. Russell. Mr. Russell, if you'll give us a quick background, sir.
Basically, this position, the resource position at the middle school, is an LBD position for students that have significant needs. And with the middle school not being a stringent credit system like the high school is, we feel that we can, with these students, kind of take a step back, go to their level, and kind of catch them up in those core content areas.
Anybody have any questions? Comments? Do we have a recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. Recommend the addition of a certified LBD teacher at the County Middle School for the 2024-25 school year. The cost of the position will come from the general fund and will be added to our tentative budget that will be presented.
Do I have a motion as stated?
Motion is stated.
Tim, do I have a second? Pam, all in favor? Unanimous? Let's move on to C, certified occupational therapist assistant.
This is a position based upon need as well. Right now, we have about 125, actually more since I've filled this out, but it's over 125 students receiving occupational therapy in the district. We have 2. We have a licensed occupational therapist, and we have a certified occupational therapy assistant in the district that are meeting the needs of those 125 right now. As we continue to grow, we need to add positions in order to meet the needs of our kids. So this is based upon as well.
Todd, does the assistant, is it allowed to have, are they allowed to have as large a caseload as the actual licensed?
They actually can, as long as
Wow.
they're supervised by the licensed occupational therapist.
That's rough. Okay, thanks. Any questions or comments?
What is the case?
That's the funny thing. There really is
Yes,
no
ma'am.
state. What we have done in the past is we go off of speech language pathology. They look at 65. We do not like to cap it out at 65. Those people, if we cap them out at 65, will go elsewhere.
Right.
So
Right.
we try to cap them about 50.
And a speech therapy assistant, I think, can only have half of that.
Yes, now that you are correct in that.
So if you kind of use that model,
Exactly.
yeah, yes, you need the extra. Okay, any more questions? Do I have a recommendation?
Yeah, before that, I will also add that this position will be able to be reimbursed with Medicaid billing. So I doubt that it will cover the whole salary, probably. Recommendation would be to approve the staffing request for having one certified occupational therapist. I know that the position will be funded from the general fund, however, the position will have the ability to build medical services provided.
Okay, do I have a motion as stated?
I'll do it.
Aaron, do I have a second? Tim, all in favor? Unanimous? Let's move on to deep physical therapy expansion.
All right, currently we have a half-time physical therapist in the district. Again, this is all based upon need. We are driving her into the ground right now. Just to be recognized as our population increases, so does our significant population. So we are asking to take that from half-time to 0.8, which is basically work out to 4 days.
Dr. Foster, do we have a recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. Approve the request to increase the current physical therapist position from a 0.5 full-time equivalent to a 0.8 full-time equivalent for 24.
Do I have a motion as stated?
I'll make that motion as stated.
Lynn, do I have a second?
Second.
Pam, all in favor? Unanimous? Let's move on to E, District ECE Instructional Assistant Renewal.
And let's get there, Bill.
Last one. This is an annual renewal. This is a position we have, but we revisit annually just based upon need. With you all approving our resource classroom at the middle school, this instructional assistant will move into that classroom as well to help with those students.
Any questions before we get a recommendation? Dr. Foster?
Approve the continuation of the district ECE instructional assistant position for the 24-25 school year. The position will be a 7-hour a day position and will continue to be determined on a yearly basis. Funding is currently funded from
A-B.
Do I have a motion as stated?
I'll make that motion as stated.
Lynn, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Aaron, all in favor? Unanimous? We'll move on to F, K5 ELA curriculum, which we,
Yes, Ms. Butler is here if you have any additional questions, but I think the presentation kind of spoke for itself.
do we have a recommendation of?
Yes, approve the purchase of Sabas in my view of the District K5 HQIR with money.
Do I have a motion as stated?
I'll do it.
Aaron, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Lynn, all in favor? Unanimous? Let's move on to the Student Code of Conduct, 24-25.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Mr. Rucker to step up to the podium. We did review our district student code of conduct, minimal changes. But just have Mr. Rucker kind of talk us through any changes that are reflected in your LP package.
So the student code of conduct you guys have in front of you, it has changed in format. Essentially, tonight, the content of the actual information there has changed very little. Honestly, in my 8 years I've been here in a principal at the head principal level or above, we have started looking at through this in a more detailed level. So I'm sure next year we'll probably have some additional changes and additions to bring to you. But for the most part, what you see is what you get here. It is a reiteration of the policies that you all have already approved. And so if you have any questions, we'll address those.
Does anybody have any questions or comments about Really? Okay. Do we have a recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. Approve the changes to the district student conduct as presented.
Do I have a motion as stated? Pam, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Lynn? All those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you, Mr. Rucker. Move on to approve the construction documents for Spencer County Elementary and Middle renovations, additions, and new athletic facility and campus improvements projects, BG number 24158.
Rucker's going to take off one hat and put on a different one. But we had a wonderful work session with Sherman Carter Barnhart. We talked about bid documents that are in good shape and ready to go public. So tonight, they will what you will do to approve them.
In your packet, you have kind of what is the final draft before it goes out to bid for both of these projects. Tom Smith is with us tonight. Tom, stand up if you don't care. Tom has been the person that literally I've been in contact with about 3 times a day. He has entertained every single outlandish idea that I've thrown at him. He has dutifully walked me through why they are bad ideas or good ideas as we move through together. And so what you see in front of you tonight is a compilation of his wisdom and my audacity.
Well said. So the first motion is for the elementary middle school.
Mhm.
The second.
It'll be this. The first one will be elementary middle school. The second one is the ELC partial renovation on the second floor.
Okay. Do we have a recommendation?
I have a question. Because I was approached and asked about this, and then specifically on this. Has there been any, and maybe I'm just misunderstanding, has there been any changes to like the renovations or anything that there's going to, in particular the courtyard area? Has there been any change in the plan that I thought was to like enclose the courtyard and turn it into classrooms?
So the courtyard is going to be enclosed. It'll contain 2 resource classrooms and then have a large, what we're calling the discovery hub at this point in that space. So it'll be maker space, flexible spaces that are there, STEM lab type activities.
Okay. And that'll be ready not this school year, but or not the upcoming school year, but next school year?
I would say that's a question for those 2 fellows right there.
I don't believe it'll be ready.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And ultimately, it'll be much better answered once we secure a contract.
Mhm.
Start working within that timeline. Basically.
Okay.
So if folks are waiting to come back on August 7th with the building courtyard, I would tell them.
And that's exactly what I said. I said I think this might be a timing issue, but there was
Yes.
a little more apprehension there than just timing. That's what I was wondering.
Any other questions or comments? Do we have a recommendation?
Approve the advertisement for bid document provided by Sherman Carter Barnhart as presented.
Do I have a motion as stated?
I'll make that motion.
Lynn, do I have a second? Tim, all in favor? Unanimous? Let's move on to I.
What do we expect here tonight?
I'm going to get an update on the next kid.
Okay, go ahead.
Upon your approval of these 2 construction documents items, in the next couple of days, we will upload everything. That way, it's not all contracts and whatnot. All of this information. For the last few months, it's been us working with Mr. Rucker down the time. Let the contracts take over and we put it in their hands. They'll have it for about 4 weeks. So, timeline wise, we will look at a free bid meeting about May. That's a meeting where we invite all the contractors, all the whole companies to come in, ask questions, familiarize themselves with the information of all of the bid documents. We answer any questions that they may have, so that any clarification on prior to the last day of the business. Usually about a week prior to the bid date. On the contract. And then following that, we plan on reviewing those documents. And making the next month, we'll put everything in the contract with them, and we'll come back and do the
Aye. So we're ready for it?
Mhm.
Do I have a recommendation?
Yes, so I is obviously just the Early Learning Center partial renovation, and so my recommendation would be to approve the advertising bid documents provided by Sherman Carter Warren Martin.
Do I have a motion as stated?
I'll make that motion as stated.
Lynn, do I have a second?
Second.
Pam, all in favor? Unanimous? Okay, moving on to J, budget amendment number 1.
Going to ask Mr. Murphy to join us at the podium. He's got some good news when it comes to dollars. The money we spent tonight, we need, Mr. Murphy.
So this is budget amendment number 1, and probably will be the only major budget amendment that's done this year. It is a lengthy budget amendment, 9 pages long. It is the result of looking at almost every account code that we have in the district. Looking line by line, person by person, employee by employee for all these positions. And a lot of the descriptions pull in automatically based on those codes in my spreadsheet. And so I know classified salary regular over and over and over and over doesn't really mean anything, and I apologize for that. But it would take forever to get the real detail in. So on the revenue side, after looking at everything in the general fund on page 1 of that amendment, it looks like the net increase would be for just over $400,000. And you can see that SEEK revenue is higher than what we anticipated. And then there are some other offsets in terms of property tax revenue and motor vehicle tax that were going to be lower. On the expense side, you have just the opposite. If you look over on page 7, you see the net change for all of these previous pages is $388,921 as far as an increase. So if you increase the revenue and increase the expense, you offset the two, and the contingency amount is projected to change by a whopping $11,000. So I would like to point out on page 7, right in the middle of the page, you'll see a couple of numbers that are $50,000. That pertains to what you just dealt with on the curriculum, and as was presented, 22,000 coming from each of the 2 elementary schools, and then the other 275,000 coming from the district. We expect $100,000 to be available from ARP ESSER funds. I don't know that we will have any more than that. Certainly if we do, we will use that. But so this $100,000 is an increase to the general fund for this year to pay for that curriculum. And we think we will be able to push about $75,000 or so, if necessary, into next school year. The company has agreed to, or has as much as agreed to doing that. And that way we can put it in the tentative budget that comes to you next month. And then on the food service side, which follows on page 7, the revenues, it looks like, and this might be a little optimistic, but about $431,000 at the top of page 8 is the total increase there. And you can see some of the funds for meals are going to be higher, or projected to be higher than what was anticipated. We have had more meals served, and I see the pictures on Facebook. The meals do look good, and I need to get over there and eat some of it. But and so if we are as fortunate as I'm projecting, and that would be about $431,000 more on the revenue side. Page 9 at the bottom of the page totals up all of the expenses. Again, looking at virtually every account code in the food service fund. And so that is looking like it would be about $224,000 higher. Supplies and food costs have gone through the roof, just like with repair parts for bus, for transportation, for maintenance. And so those two offset each other. You can see that we started out the year on that very last line with a zero planned contingency. It was that narrow the difference between revenues and expenditures. And I think if we're fortunate, we will come out with about 200,000 for the good in contingency. That also helps the general fund because of indirect costs that the food service program pays to the general fund if the funds permit. They have a certain requirement that has to be met in terms of their financial standing at the end of the year. So certainly we don't get our money if they don't have it to give. And so I think they have to keep 3 months worth of funds in their budget. And so if that's not sufficient, then the general fund does not get it. But I think with the efforts that Mr. Rucker and Ms. Harmony have put in, I think we will be able to get some indirect costs at least this year, what we have the last couple of years.
Any questions or comments? Okay, do we have a recommendation?
We do. Approve budget amendment number 1 is presented. Note that as a result of the approval, the general fund food service fund contingency is projected to increase by $11,750 to $206,438.
We have a recommendation. Do I have a motion as stated? Tim, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Aaron, all in favor? Unanimous? Let's move on to K, vape detector purchase.
So as we talked about in the last work session, we wanted to revisit vape detection in our middle school, our high school, and Hillview Academy. It seemed that the wish of the board was to proceed with getting a quote and look at purchasing these that would be installed over the summer. So I provided for you a quote that would put 9 vape detection sensors in our high school, 2 up on the Hillview Academy, and then 6 in the middle school. And 2 at the high school does include our athletic complex. So you can see quite a bit higher than you guys talked about last school year, but I do believe the purchase is needed as we try to forget this.
Do you have any discussion, any comments, questions?
I was just gonna add something in favor of it so much because, like I said, the addiction starts young, and it happens very young. To do all these things and have these vape devices and have stuff that has THC in it, they really not, and it never will be an issue. So I think that having something implemented like this, because Mr. Phillips and Ms. Fisher and Ms. Noel, and I'm sure Mr. Mercer and everybody at all the other schools do such a great job of catching these kids. But some of them are really sneaky, and they do a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, I can name like maybe 2 kids off the top of my head that do stuff like that. That really just hurts my heart. And as much as student peers and things, and teachers and administrators can try and lead them away from that path, they just won't listen. They don't understand the addiction of their brain. Even at a young age, my sister, she's in middle school. She tells me all the time about kids she knows. Third and second grade, but now they're starting to do things that they change on their mind, things that happen, and it baffles me. It really does. So I think having something implemented like this that will catch them right on the dot, and they know, like, we can't do this in school. And being in an instructional learning time for so long, it'll help them lead away from that addiction.
Thank you.
Dr. Foster, do we have a recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. Approve the purchase and cost of vape detection materials and installation of $45,785 from ProSource Technologies. Funding will come from the general contingency.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent. Do I have a motion as stated? Pam, do I have a second? Tim? Any more comments or anything before we move on? Okay, all in favor? Unanimous? Let's move on to L, the school year.
School calendar adjustment, my winning streak came to an end. But due to the cancellation of school on April 11th, 2024, we need to amend our 23-24 school calendar to reflect the makeup day. April 11th will now be removed from the 23-24 calendar as a school day. The makeup day will be Monday, May 20th, as the calendar the final day of school for students, closing day for staff, and Tuesday in the amended calendars. We just ready to go on our website.
This is your recommendation.
Yes, approve the revised 23-24 school calendar as presented.
Okay, we have a recommendation. Do we have a motion as stated?
I'll do it.
Aaron, do we have a second? Pam? All in favor? Unanimous? Move on to action by consent. We've all had a chance to review it. Is there a motion to approve the action by consent items as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Lynn, do we have a second? Tim? All in favor? Unanimous? Let's move on to communications. Board members? Emma? Okay. Okay. Do we have SCEA here today? See one, anyone? Any discussion on the other communication items? Anything to bring forward? Okay, let's move on to dialogue and future agenda topics. Any other than what we've already discussed?
No, ma'am, nothing. I will share that Ms. Butler will be doing our spring academic presentation, our main work session, which will be diving into math, research, all things new.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Is there a motion to make the agenda dated April the 22nd, 2024, part of the official board minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Lynn, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Aaron, all in favor? Unanimous? Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:38? How about that?
Kind of close, right?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Tim, do we have a second?
Second.
Lynn, all in favor? Unanimous? Let's move on. Thank you, everybody.
No, that's it.
All right.
Okay.
I think you're
Have a good night.
Whoever's doing all